Hello, we're outside because this next sonnet uses growing things as a metaphor for procreation, love, sex. I'm a little uncomfortable with some of it, but anyway, here goes. Sonnet 16. But wherefore do not you a mightier way make war upon this bloody tyrant time, and fortify yourself in your decay with means more blessed than my barren rhyme? Now stand you on the top of happy hours, and many maiden gardens yet unset, with virtuous wish would bear your living flowers. Much liker than your painted counterfeit, so should the lines of life that life repair, which this time's pencil or my pupil pen, neither in inward worth nor outward fair, can make you live yourself in eyes of men. To give away yourself keeps yourself still, and you must live drawn by your own sweet skill. Hello. We've reached Sonnet 17, and that means that we've reached a sort of mini landmark point in these 154 sonnets, because right up to Sonnet 17, Mr. Shakespeare has been writing on one particular theme, trying to persuade this gorgeous young man that he should have a child, not just to continue the family name and reputation, but his own personal beauty. After 17, the tone changes, and I'm thinking I might say a little bit about that tomorrow. But for now, one of my favorite sonnets, 17. Who will believe my verse in time to come? If it were filled with... I'm going to begin again. Who will believe my verse in time to come, if it were filled with your most high desert? Though yet... you know what? I've got to start again. I'm sorry. It's desserts and not dessert. Who will believe my verse in time to come, if it were filled with your most high deserts? Though yet, heaven knows it is but as a tomb, which hides your life and shows not half your parts. If I could write the beauty of your eyes, and in fresh numbers number all your graces, the age to come would say, this poet lies. Such heavenly touches ne'er touched earthly faces. So should my papers, yellowed with their age, be scorned like old men of less truth than tongue, and your true rights be termed a poet's rage and stretched metre of an antique song. But were some child of yours alive that time, you should live twice, in it and in my rhyme. After I finished the sonnet, I think it was yesterday, I thought we'd stop recording, and I said, was that all right? Actually, that was not addressed to my viewers. It was addressed to my wife, and this is the appropriate moment to give her the credit as my cinematographer and set designer. Sonny, thank you so much. Hello. I think the moment has come for me to tell you something about this book I've been reading for the past 2 weeks. Well, it's an American edition of the Sonnets, and it was produced by the Folger Shakespeare Library. a great institution. The editors are Barbara A. Mowat and Paul Werstein. And because we're at a very important place in these sonnets, I want to read something from their introduction. The poet, William Shakespeare, begins with a set of 17 sonnets advising a beautiful young man to produce a child. These poems of advice modulate into a set of sonnets which urge the poet's love for the young man, and which claim that the young man's beauty will be preserved in the very poems that we are now reading. This second set of sonnets, 1826, which in the supposed narrative celebrate the poet's love for the young man, includes clusters of poems that seem to tell us of such specific events as the young man's mistreatment of the poet, the young man's theft of the poet's mistress, the appearance of rival poets who celebrate the young man and gain his favour, and the poet's separation from the young man through trouble or through the young man's indifference, and the poet's infidelity to the young man. So here we are, and we are at perhaps the most well-known sonnet in the book. Sonnet 18. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Of course, I would mess this up, wouldn't I? Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a note. Sometimes too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed. And every fair from fair sometimes declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So long as men can breathe and eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. Sonnet 19. Devouring time, blunt thou the lion's paws, and make the earth devour her own sweet brood. Pluck the keen teeth from the fierce tiger's jaws, and burn the long-lived phoenix in her blood. Make glad and sorry seasons as thou fleet'st, and do whatever thou wilt, swift-footed time, to the wide world and all her fading sweets. But I forbid thee one most heinous crime. O carve not with thy hours my love's fair brow, nor draw no lines there with thine antique pen. Him in thy course untainted do allow, for beauty's pattern to succeeding men. Yet do thy worst, old time, despite thy wrong, my love shall in my verse ever live young. Strong stuff. So, after several hours of looking at Sonnet 20, I'm going to pass on this one too, because it makes me quite uncomfortable. There is an issue of how he writes about women that I don't like. So, I don't have to say it, because nobody can make me. And we're moving on to Sonnet 21. I was never very good with props. 21. So is it not with me as with that muse, stirred by a painted beauty to his verse, who heaven itself for ornament doth use, and every fair with his fair doth rehearse, making a compliment of proud compare with sun and moon, with earth and sea's rich gems, with April's firstborn flowers, and all things rare that heaven's air in this huge rondure hems. Oh, let me, true in love, but truly right, and then believe me, my love is as fair as any mother's child, though not so bright as those gold candles fixed in heaven's air. Let them say more that like of hearsay well. I will not praise that purpose not to sell. It's tricky. On this rainy, damp day in Southern California, Sonnet 23. It's the rain. As an unperfect actor on the stage, who with his fear is put beside his part, or some fierce thing replete with too much rage, whose strength's abundance weakens his own heart. So I, for fear of trust, forget to say the perfect ceremony of love's rite, and in mine own love's strength seem to decay, or charged with burden of mine own love's might. Oh, let my books be then the eloquence and dumb presagers of my speaking breast, who plead for love and look for recompense more than that tongue that more hath more expressed. Oh, learn to read what silent love hath writ. To hear with eyes belongs to love's fine wit. Sonnet 24. Mine eye hath played the painter, and hath stelled thy beauty's form in table of my heart. My body is the frame wherein 'tis held, and perspective it is best painter's art. For through the painter must you see his skill, to find where your true image pictured lies, which in my bosom's shop is hanging still, that hath his windows glazed with thine eyes. Now see what good turns eyes for eyes have done. Mine eyes have drawn thy shape, and thine for me are windows to my breast, where through the sun delights to peep, to gaze therein on thee. Yet eyes this cunning want to grace their art. They draw but what they see, know not the heart. Sonnet 25, an unusual one, which I had never read until this morning, but it's extraordinary. Let those who are in favour with their stars of public honour and proud titles boast, whilst I, whom fortune of such triumph bars, unlooked for joy in that I honour most. Great princes' favourites their fair leaves spread, but as the marigold the sun's eye, and in themselves their pride lies buried, for at a frown they in their glory die. The painful warrior, famous for worth, after 1,000 victories, once foiled, is from the book of honour razed quite. Then happy I, that love and am beloved, where I may not remove, nor be removed.